We're finally here in Cebu, Philippines, and we are so excited to show you around.
Trying to climb the highest peak of Cebu Island.
So this is the oldest wishing well in the Philippines.
Oh, I forgot to make a wish. Dear future self, I want to ascend beyond the atmosphere.
This after you die.
Huh? After I die? Hello guys, today we are going to Cebu, Philippines, and we are so excited because this is our first time that we are going to go to the Philippines.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Cebu, where the local time is 80 minutes plus 3 in the afternoon. Please remain seated with the seatbelt fastened until the fasten seatbelt sign.
So we just arrived into Cebu and checked into a hotel, and we can't wait to show you what there is in Cebu. So now we are heading towards Minore Basilica. It's one of the downtown areas at Cebu City, and we're just going to get a taxi there. So this is the Minore Basilica of the Holy Heart of Cebu. It is a church that dates back to the 1500s and rebuilt in 1700s as the Church of Jesus Christ.
Particularly, this church is dedicated to Santo Niño, which is a representation of infant Jesus. In many cultures like the Cebuanos, the infant Jesus is also associated with blessings and miracles, and is believed to have the power to grant petitions and bring comfort to those in need. The celebration of infant Jesus is therefore a way for many believers to express their faith, seek divine intervention, and find solace in times of difficulty. So ever since Ferdinand Magellan introduced the statue of infant Jesus to Cebu in 1521, generations of Filipino and Catholic devotees from across the world have made their pilgrimage to the Basilica Minore del Santo Niño, making it one of the most significant religious and cultural landmarks in the Philippines.
Alright, so this cross, the cross of Magellan, is erected by Magellan.
Before we go on any further, I need to introduce you to two of our friends who came on this trip with us. Her name is Chuch, and his name is Zhi Hao. We couldn't have imagined better travel buddies on this trip. More on them later and other Cebu videos too.
So now we are at Plaza Independence. We are the downtown area of Cebu City, and behind us is the Fort of San Pedro.
Even though the Fort of San Pedro is now dwarfed in its size when compared against the rapid expansion of Cebu City, the fort is steeped in historical significance, for it changed hands across different occupiers of the Philippines since the 18th century. As our guide showed us around the fort, we learned that the fort was first built by the Spanish under the military command of Miguel Lopez de Legazpi against Muslim raiders. Filipino revolutionaries used it as their stronghold in the late 1800s, before the Americans used it as their barracks, before it was converted to become a school, and then a refuge for Japanese residents during the Second World War. Before it became a museum today, it was also a hospital, an army camp, a miniature garden, a clinic, an office compound for city public works, and a zoo. It remains one of the oldest triangular forts in the entire Philippines.
So this is the oldest wishing well in the Philippines.
Wow!
You can throw some coins and make a wish.
Okay!
Did you wish anything?
Oh, I forgot to make a wish.
So the next day we drove 3 hours to the municipal of Badian.
just arrived at Osmena Peak after a very bumpy ride. You know, here we are trying to climb the highest peak of Cebu Island. First, we have to go to the Tourism Information Center and pay 30 pesos. So we have a guide, his name is Ephraim, and he'll be bringing us up the mountain, 1,072 meters.
The ride here was treacherous, but they are building a road, so I think it will get better in the future. It will be smoother in the future. The air here is cooler, a little cooler. I've never seen this kind of terrain before.
Indeed, the jagged peaks and otherworldly landscape reminds me of the swirls on top of a lemon meringue pie. The Osmena Peak is testament to the enduring power of the natural world, shaped by the pretty unsympathetic tectonic movements that shape Cebu Island, much like the rest of the Philippines. The trek to the peak only takes us about 20 minutes, and along the way, we will also pass through several vegetable farms.
I'm already sweating profusely under my cap. I'm not so sure how the rest are feeling. We are 7 minutes in. There's still another 13 to 15 minutes to go. The most popular view is definitely on the south side, but the north side also has a pretty stunning view as well. So you can kind of tell that the entire Cebu Island is actually pretty narrow in terms of its width. On good days, if you can tell, like, you know, you can see the mountain peak on neighboring islands as well. The next part of the experience involves canyoneering down Kawasan Falls, and after that what we do is that we follow this very cool obstacle route, which includes jumping off the cliff into the waterfalls. Hopefully we'll have like a pretty good experience.
So after a gentle car ride up the hill, we hopped onto 2 motorbikes across relatively bumpy roads to our starting point of the adventure.
Minutes, okay, Ken.
At this point, we're just raring to begin. There are 2 routes you can choose from. The easy route, which is about 2 hours long, and the more difficult, which is about 4 hours long. And both experiences will lead you to the same location downstream.
Let's go! 3, 2, 1.
The water is so clear. Amazing experience.
And where else can you get such crystal clear water? Our guide, the turquoise water, being surrounded by the lush greenery and limestone canyon walls, the high element challenges the whole place. I couldn't have imagined a much better canyoneering experience than this. As we pass through the different layers of waterfall, it becomes quite clear to me why this is considered one of the best gems in the Philippines.
It's 2:50 and we're checking out the hotel.
Whale shark tours around the world are often viewed as ecotourism experience, where travelers find a conscientious way of travel and learn from the locals. After what we observed today, there's nothing ecotouristic about this attraction, and we do not think that this is an ideal form of tourism.
It's about 7 minutes to 7 o'clock and we are going to queue up for the Oslo snorkeling. There's a long line ahead of us, so it's probably going to take us about 30 minutes to get in there.
In fact, 30 minutes is a severe underestimation.
So we're just about here waiting for the queue number to be called out before we actually get into the water. Our queue number is about 160, so this means that like it's going to take us about 1 hour to get down to the boat. It's like the number of people who are waiting in line, as well as waiting for the boat and waiting for like boats to come back as well. It's going to take a little bit of a while because like there's just so many people here. There's so many people. I would say like at least a few hundred people waiting for, you know, this entire experience this Sunday.
And it feels almost like a factory operation where operators are squeezing as many whale shark viewings as possible. Even when we arrived early, we are shocked by the number of people here.
Finally going in, I think it's going to be, I think we waited about 1.5 hours to get in there.
We learned that whale sharks are highly migratory animals and should not be trained to stay in one place. By feeding them, this could alter their natural behavior and may have long-term effects on their life cycle. In an article by National Geographic, a study showed that tourists to Oslo recognize that feeding an endangered species for tourism purposes is ethically problematic, but they still participate in it anyway. This is a form of guilty pleasure. This experience has taught us to be more conscious of what experience we should be consuming and how we should do so. If you're heading to Oslo, we encourage you to read up before deciding for yourself if you want to participate. Our last adventure was to spend the evening catching the sunset at White Beach. This is one of the most popular beaches in the busy tourist town of Moalboal and one of the nicest South Cebu beaches. White Beach is also known as Basdaku Beach, which literally means big sand. The name is very fitting because of its white seashores. There's just enough space for everyone.
Being by the sea, like any other places, attracts like so many different types of people, including like tourists and, you know, locals. And I think like that's the magic of what like being in the beach like draws people all together. And I'm so happy to see like everybody coming here all in one and just trying to enjoy a lovely sunset.
Dear future self,
Dear future self,
I want to climb.
I want to climb
I don't know where you are.
every single mountain and swim every single shore,
You see the shore.
dive in every single water, and ascend beyond the atmosphere.
It's after you die.
Huh? After I die. So Cebu, till next time.
Thank you.